her guests with intriguing questions on her shows, asking them about their private lives, their views and opinions in life, and what's new about them. This time, I have the honor of turning the tables around as we put her on center stage and try to learn more about the person that she truly is, Miss Kris Aquino. All right, Kris, so obviously you're a daughter of a very popular senator. So what is it like growing up in a very prominent family?
Hey, JR, kasi I was a year and 7 months when my dad was put in jail. So, hindi ko na naranasan what it was like na senator siya. Kasi syempre, wala pa akong malay nung time na yun. When martial law was declared in 1972, parang, if you ask me kung anong first memories ko of my dad, it was visiting him in jail. So, yung parang, unlike now, di ba, na parang, oy, kung anak yan ng senator, di ba, parang you feel it's such a big deal. I didn't go through that. Siguro my sisters would be able to express what it was like, but generally, I think it was pretty much a simple life. Kasi my dad was in politics from the time he was 23. So, from the time he and my mom were newly married, sanay na sila talaga. Lahat ng mga kapatid ko, it's a big age gap eh. Almost 10 years between me and the sister na sinundan ko.
Okay, so that must have been hard for you, you know, I mean, growing up and everything like that.
Actually, no. Every time people ask me about that, was it difficult? Sabi ko, you only miss what you actually experienced. And since I was so young, parang it was normal for me that my dad didn't live at home. My dad lived in Fort Bonifacio. It was normal for me that I only had my mom. In fact, it was when we were living in the States that I had a dad. It was a hard adjustment for me to finally have a dad.
So being with your dad, not living with you, what's an ordinary day like in the Aquino household?
We got to visit my dad Wednesdays, Saturdays, and Sundays. Most days, when I was going to school, my mom would try to pick me up from school almost every day. And then, typical lang. I remember na, you didn't grow up here, but nung time na yun when I was a kid, what the teleseries are now, that time, it was Flor de Luna. That was Janice Leveland's soap. And I remember na my mom and I, every night, would watch it together.
Okay, that's nice.
Yeah, I was really the baby of the family. Parang by the time I was going to, siguro nung kinder ako, my sister was already in high school, the one that I went after. And then, yung oldest sister ko, graduate na ng college. So parang by the time na grade 3 ako, yung sister na sinunod ko college na, and the rest, my 2 other sisters were working na. So spoiled ako. Every payday, they'd bring me to gift gate, and I could choose whatever Hello Kitty I wanted.
Wow, see, I wish I had that as a kid, you know. You know, my sisters buy me a lot of stuff.
Yeah, hindi naman a lot, pero parang, swerte ako in that sense.
That's nice. So what would it be like a good, like one of your most treasured, like childhood memory?
The happy memories came when we were living in Boston. We left here in 1980. And I would say na yung happy moments would be, gosh, the first time I woke up and saw snow.
Wow.
And then, like, my dad went sledding with me.
That's nice.
That's fun,
Yeah,
diba?
yeah,
And then,
nice.
typical, yung parang things that other kids would take for granted na we built a snowman.
Most definitely.
And then, the first Halloween na my dad and my mom went around with me when I went trick-or-treating. Because they were the ones who were so excited to see me in my costume.
Walang snow dito eh. No?
Walang snow dito. Pero ngayon dito, trick-or-treating uso na.
Naka-costume mga ganun. Alright, so what about this? Like you said, it's your mom picked you up all the time at school and everything. So how was Mrs. Aquino?
My mom? You know, they used to call me her buntot, like her tail. Kasi daw, I really just refused na my mom would go anywhere na hindi ako kasama. And my mom also was very much about checking on assignments and making sure. Kasi, in fairness sa akin, JR, honor student ako talaga.
Wow.
I mean, all throughout talaga, grade school and up to high school, yung parang, when I was in Poveda, I know na grade 2 at grade 3 first honors ako. Then we went to the States. Doon walang honors, diba? In your school ba meron? Kasi in ours wala. So, but I was a straight A student there.
Well, it goes to show now. I mean,
yeah, and then
when
we got back here, when I went to IS, doon naman, high honors ako. Tapos, in San Agustin, it was always yung eagle, gold eagle or red eagle or whatever. So, I done gold eagle naman ako. So, masipag ako sa school. I was really always pretty good when it came to my studies. And I think I got that also because may discipline na ini-instill ang mom ko. Like, you can watch TV pag tapos na yung assignments.
Yeah. Your siblings, you guys seem to be really close. So how are they?
Actually, I'm really closest to my ate. My sister Bolsey, who's the oldest in the family, is, let's see, she's 49 now. It's a really, really big age gap. So she's like my second mom. And she's the one that to this day, if I have a problem, she's the one I make sumbong to. And she's the one who's always really supportive. And like, she'll tell me na parang, pag nanonood ng hiram, she'll say na, Kris, yung laki-laki ng eye bags mo, sobra ka na atang pagod.
She'll tell you the truth.
She's really the one I'm closest to.
Nice.
With my other three kapatids, we're okay, but it's really my ate.
Ever since you were a kid until now, what do you think is the best, the best age that you treasure?
Siguro the years na from the time I was 9 until I was 12. Because that was the only time na na-experience ko what it was like to have a family. A complete family. A mom, a dad, and everybody there. And I think that was the time na feel ko yung what it was like na my dad would watch school programs. Parang things that other kids would take for granted. And now that I look back, because I lost my dad when I was 12. So parang, kung tatanungin niyo ako ano yung pinakamaligaya, as a kid, those years were really near perfect.
So they were the best now. So being that the best years because you were with your family, how did your family cope when your dad just was imprisoned?
I think it was hardest for my sisters who were older. Because yung parang, my mom, hindi ko nga na-experience, but they were saying na parang, martial law was really different at the time because there was totally no freedom here. And parang, apart from the fact na, syempre may ibang friends na natatakot to be that close to you because yung parang dictatorship nung panahon na yon. So medyo mahirap yon. And I think yung mahirap for us also was that we had to, even as a kid, nung kahit baby ako, I remember, sabi ng mommy ko, they would inspect everything. The body search, even me, and they'd check all the diapers just in case meron kaming pinupuslit inside when we visited my dad. Including my diaper bag daw, and including yung baby formula, bubuksan pa rin daw yun. Nung ganun talaga. I mean, you think it only happens in movies, but we went through that. And then, yung mga sisters ko had to go through every time na we'd visit my dad. You know, in movies, yung mga strip search. Ito yan, they had to open up their blouses and whack naman. I mean, yung mga women na mga police ang nag-check. But still, di ba? Medyo, may degradation talagang pagdadaanan.
So at that age, did you understand what was going on?
No, I only understood it probably nung grade 1 na ako. This is a story I tell all the time na I've always been madaldal, but it was the one time na I went home, I remember crying. Kasi sabi ko, Mom, when they were asking ko anong job ng dad, hindi ko masagot because nahihiya ako to say na my dad didn't have a job because my dad was in jail. Kasi diba when you're a kid, ang feeling mo, pag nakakulong ang parent mo, he must have really done something bad.
Yeah.
And sabi ng mom ko, no, next time that they ask you, say that your dad's a political prisoner. And then I had to say, Mom, don't explain ng mommy ko what everything meant. And that's, I guess, when I understood it. So I was probably 6 or 7 years old.
It's a very young age.
Very.
Well, at a young age, you were doing a lot of speeches, and, you know, a lot of people really loved you for that. So did you write the speeches, or who wrote the speeches?
I was 7 years old, and that was the first time we had parliamentary elections here. So alam ko na because they were saying that my mom at the time was really shy. So she couldn't campaign for my dad. So nag-volunteer ako. Sabi ko, I'll do it. And then, he's a radio announcer. I don't know what he does now, but nung time na yun, his name was Doy del Castillo. And he wrote parang, I guess, a simplified version of what they felt I should be saying. Okay. Nene Pimentel, who's a lifelong friend of our family, also ran at the time. And he was a senator. And I have pictures na Tito Nene was the one holding the mic or holding the megaphone for me. And I know that he also contributed some things in that speech, as well as Joker Arroyo, who's also a senator right now. Okay. So, I mean, from the time I was 2 years old, kilala ko na sila at kilala na nila ako.
I mean, being in the situation, I mean, you already know your father's in prison, and I mean, weren't you always nervous doing these speeches in front of all these people as a young kid?
Alam mo, I've never had stage fright.
That's good. I wish I had that
Ganun
talent.
kakapal ang mukha ko talaga. Wala.
That's good.
And, ano talaga, whether the crowd was 200 or the crowd was 20,000, walang kaba, walang nervyos.
Wow, that's a lot of people.
And I'm really lucky kasi yung Batas Militar, it's this documentary that was done about the martial law years. That speech that I gave when I was 7 years old is included in that. And nakakatuwa kasi sabi ko, I guess this was an indication of what was to come later on in life. Kasi talagang makikita mo in that video na there was a crowd of maybe 50,000 people.
Wow.
And confidently, as a 7-year-old kid na whose front teeth were just growing in, kasi bungi pa ako ng time na yun, yung dalawa were just growing in there, wala, dire-diretso talaga yung speech.
Wow, that's really nice. That's really good to know. I mean, a 7-year-old, that's really hard to do. I mean, me, I can't even sing in front of that many people. You know, that's so hard.
May kaba ka pa until now.
Siyempre, no, every time.
At 2 years old though, JR, I was saying already na anytime they'd ask me, what do you want to be? Gusto ko talaga artista. 2 years old. I don't know about you, pero sa akin ganun daw. As soon as I could talk, yun na yung lumabas sa bibig ko.
Artista na kaagad, you know. All right, well, going back to your dad, you've always said that you have a lot of similarities. What are those similarities?
In my mom's side of the family, kasi they're very quiet and very private. Opposite. In my dad's side of the family, they're loud, they're artistic. And my mom says na the charisma now, most likely yun, I inherited that talaga from my dad.
You have a lot of charisma.
That's what my mom says. And then, the gift of gab. The ability na, first time kita makilala ngayon, but we can talk for the next 2 hours at hindi tayo maboboard dalawa.
Yeah.
Ganun din daw ang dad ko. And my dad was really gifted in that he would remember faces, names, and events. Yung parang almost photographic in memory.
Yeah.
Halos ganun din ako talaga. But yun, I really have to work at because parang feeling ko, it's part of my job also as a host na alalahanin ko naman talaga.
Yeah,
So
but you do
those
a
are
good
the things
job,
that
though.
I think are similar to my dad.
Okay, that's nice, and it's really that's a talent actually. You know, you got it from your dad and everything.
I think so.
Yeah. So if you were to change anything in your life, what would it be?
If I could change anything, I think it would be na hindi kami showy na family. Maybe because when I was young, yung parang, like now, Josh and I say, I love you every single day, 8 times a day. But I think because my mom had to be so strong, tipid na tipid yung how many times naga I love you. And with my dad, parang in my lifetime, twice ko lang naalala that I said I loved him and I heard him say that he loved me back. So if I could change anything, sana nung bata ako and they were both there, sana naging mas vocal ako in appreciating them and in saying how much I love them. That's it. I mean, all the other experiences, hindi ko naman pagpapalit because, God, I think I've had the most unique childhood of anybody in this country.
Pretty much.
So, okay lang yun. Walang, all the pain I was shielded from probably because I was so young. Pero sana yun lang, na especially now na I realize it, na sana yung that last phone call the night before that my dad was killed, sana instead of saying na, I miss you, Dad, sana nasabi kong, I love you, Dad.
You said earlier that you've always wanted to be an actress ever since you were 2 years old. So what's the other thing that, besides being an actress, did you want to be anything else, like a
lawyer.
doctor, a lawyer?
Never a doctor.
A lawyer.
Pero alala ko, I wanted to be a lawyer talaga.
You know, you could probably be
Pwede
a
pa rin, pero
lawyer.
matanda na ako.
Kaya mo yan,
No,
sabihin
ito,
mo,
JR,
honor
ito yun
student ka
eh. My mom was telling me about this. Sabi niya, Kris, may open university sa UP. Why don't you take the test and mag-law school ka? Sabi ko, Mom, yung pressure. What if I'm not in the top 10 of the bar? Correct? Di ba? That's the expectations. Kasi nakakalala ko si JFK Jr. In the States, diba, it was such a big issue na the first 2 times he took the New York bar exams, he failed it. Sabi ko, Mom, kahihiyan kung di ako pumasa.
That's a lot of pressure, no?
Diba?
Oo nga.